Hey guys, here is our off-season war number 5 now. Only one more off-season war after this, and then we're back to the actual season, which will be nice. And yeah, so first up we have this 7 I-Bomb with Red Hulk. Red Hulk's a great option for this. In my opinion, the best option outside of Omega. You definitely want Suizan for Red Hulk here as well. And yeah, the main goal for you is to just be baiting his L2 mostly. Baiting his L1 can get you cornered pretty easily. We ended up doing that a little bit at the start here because I was being dumb. I should not be baiting those L1s. I should be baiting L2s. The defender had Suizan here, but I've taken this in season before and everything, so I know it's a safe matchup regardless. But yeah, since I had baited those L1s, we're getting cornered here. Now that's purely a dumb mistake from me. Thankfully, he throws it anyway. He has fairly easy animation, so it's not too bad to do corner play against him, but it's definitely not fun. Because you definitely don't want to be doing corner play, because that's just always risky. Even against someone who's a little bit easier to do it against, like I-Bomb here. But yeah, Rogue's dealing with it just fine. And yeah, fairly good matchup. Definitely one of my favorite options in season for this fight. And yeah, I mean, Red Hulk's a monster. Having Conflictor and all of that means I-Bomb is not going to get his normal physical resistance, which can definitely put a dent in Rogue's damage. But since he's going to be at like 0 poisons, he's not going to be having all of that physical resistance, which is really, really nice. So that helps it be specifically good for Hulk. And yeah, next up we have this I-Hulk on Vivified with Nick Fury. Now, Sui's being on for this defender actually hurts you, oddly enough, because I-Hulk is going to get his immortality from that. It's not going to matter too much, because Nick Fury is a monster, and, yeah, doesn't really matter, but was a little bit annoying to have I-Hulk just going into immortality, even though he really shouldn't with this counter, because recoil masteries are so annoying with the I-Bomb. With I-Hulk. I hate that interaction on defense. It happens a lot in BGs, and it's so annoying, man. So here we go for this. And yeah, I realize at this point, okay, he's gonna go into immortality. And yeah, he does, of course. Oddly enough, that didn't apply the shock or anything from Conduit. I thought the L2 would have. But nope, nothing was applied, which was pretty weird. Now, for this 21 Wong, I've heard this placement gets a lot of kills. I don't really know why, to be honest. It seems like getting tier L3 would just kill every time with Rolk, but apparently it gets a lot of kills. And yeah, in this fight, I mean, I get a little bit of bad AI here. You mostly just want to bait those L1s. And if he gets to 90 charges, you want to throw a heavy. And yeah, that's the main risk, is when he gets that 90 charges and can do that little good chunk of damage and all. But yeah, you're gonna see Rolk's damage just skyrocketing now. He does have recoil 3 masteries on, which is going to, you know, basically balance out as if I was running boosts and everything. You know, this is basically a max boost for how quick that fight would be. Just since it's such a quick fight, recoil 3 masteries don't have the full time to do everything, and yeah. Now we've got Nick Fury versus 24 Nick Fury. No one brought a proper counter to this, so I just take it with Nick Fury. I've done this a couple times now. Not my favorite, and you're very likely to go into second life in this fight, but you can definitely solo it because Nick Fury is a monster. And yeah, I probably shouldn't have dexed that, and I probably should have just taken the hits instead of giving him the EMP charges. But yeah, this is a little bit annoying at this point that we got hit there and went into second life, because definitely don't want to enter second life that early. And now we have to just hope he throws his L2, because obviously we were gonna get power drained, so we wouldn't really have a chance to do like a combo into an L2 and kill him. So yeah, he throws it here, and thankfully he doesn't throw his L1. I don't think it would have killed me, but it definitely would have been annoying if he threw his L1 there. And yeah, next up we just have this Sim Supreme on this node. It's going to have a little bit of regen if you dash back twice. Nebula's gonna have a heal block and everything, so we just want to build to an L2, and then my L2 will definitely kill some Supreme. And yeah, that's the basic strat here. I accidentally dex here. I didn't really duel this to get the spacing for avoiding the dex buff on his heavy for this fight. Because, you know, avoiding parry against Sim Supreme is not really something you want to do, because, you know, then you're more likely to dex and everything, which is why I don't really love Sim Supreme. I don't really love fighting Sim Supreme with Nebula, and yeah, here we just accidentally parry, which is a little unfortunate. It's going to make this fight go on just a little bit longer. And yeah, we're going to take some block damage from those L2s. But at this point, we can end the fight now. Obviously, that L2 is just a lot of damage, even with only like half the shocks we can get. She just shreds. And yeah, next up we just have a Weapon X. This is the fight I wanted to test with Nebula with Sick and Tired. Because Sick and Tired gives you a heal block, so I was thinking that I was going to be able to use the heal block to just counter everything in Berserk with my L3, and then, you know, just get an L2 off of that. There is another strat for Nebula versus Weapon X, where instead of going for the L3, you just wait out the Berserk and do your L2 during the cooldown for that, and it works very well. But I wanted to test out and see if the L3 rotation would work here. And here, I'm just backing myself into the corner so I can get the side steps off the wall, because that is a little bit safer than just going for flat intercepts in my experience. And yeah. We're at a good position to just build to our L3. And the nice thing about Nebula versus Weapon X is if he crits you, he's going to activate those regen buffs. Obviously with Buffet, sometimes they'll get eaten up. But that can be a really nice safety net for this matchup. I do quite like the Nebula versus Weapon X matchup. Now that we have Sick and Tired. And yeah. I mean, this doesn't have recoil on for the defender, so this is going to be a pretty accurate representation of what this fight would look like in season. And I definitely think this is going to be a solid matchup. As you can see, I'm going into my L2 now, and Weapon X just melts away. Just dead like that. Very, very solid matchup. And yeah, next up we have this 46 Nimrod with the new nodes, with the glancing and strike counter block penetration. A little bit more annoying than previously for Nebula, because now the glancing actually happens for the armor. So now you have to kind of do the strat that you did with UA, where you make sure to avoid, where you avoid having the armor up for your L2, which is a little bit annoying. But I mean, we've all seen this fight a whole bunch of times with UA. So it's basically going to be like a UA Nimrod with Nebula, which, I mean, we've all done a bunch of times, so, yeah. And I think I accidentally parry again somewhere here. I definitely need to practice more with Nebula. I'm not meant to parry right there, of course. So we're just going to try and build up some charges and go for an actual L2 now. I really need to get better at using Nebula, because that is just not cutting it, man. Here we get our L2 anyway, and yeah, he's just gonna die from the L2, thankfully. But yeah, I really need to get better at, you know, avoiding parry with Nebula, 'cause not doing a great job with that. And finally, we've got this Rolk versus Dragon Man. I'm sure you guys have all seen this fight a billion times during Stubborn and Protect back in the day. With Stubborn and Protect. Here he has the power charge. This comes from fighting Wong, so you want to keep that in mind for when you're signing any fights against Wong. Here, he just almost holds the L3, which is really annoying. I don't have an invuln on, obviously, because it's off season. So if he gets an L3, it's probably lights out. I mean, I'm sure I could take one L3, but probably lights out past that. And now that he has the Furies, I probably couldn't take a single L3. So yeah, I'm trying to get an L1 baited so I can start healing from willpower, because that's what we want here, so we don't die to block damage from the L2s. And he's just refusing to throw anything but the L2, which is fine. It's definitely better than L3s, but would be nice to get some L1s baited, so we don't have to dex any L2 later in this fight. And here he throws the first L1, which is great. And this doesn't have what's it called? This does not have Mystic Dispersion on, so it's going to be pretty easy fight. As long as he doesn't entirely fuck you over. And yeah, definitely would not send this in season anymore. I mean, there was a time when we were sending this, but there are a lot safer options now. You definitely want to send either Nebula or Kingpin. You should never send anyone other than those two. Even sending anyone other than Nebula is a bit of a stretch, but Kingpin can definitely work for this if you need to send Kingpin, but really it should just always be Nebula, because Nebula is fantastic for this. Of course, she's just going to shut everything down and make the fight fairly easy. And yeah, here we go for L3, and the fight will be almost over. We're just going to let the incinerates tick for a little bit after this L3, and then the fight will be over. And yeah, nice and cooperative AI on this Dragon Man, thankfully. And yeah, decent off-season war, and yeah, excited to get back to the season.